here. It contains all the presentation and functionality. Angular application is a combination of several components. It's a combination of several components. So user can access and use these components from a static page. The startup page is index.html. That is the startup page. So Angular application starts with index page. In index page, we keep the components so that user can switch between components. User can interact with the components. So everything is provided to user on his screen as a component. That's the reason we say components are building blocks. That means application is designed primarily with components only, right? Now, technically, what you understood by this is you understood that a component comprises of HTML, CSS, and TypeScript, logic in TypeScript. So generally, presentation is designed in HTML page. So in HTML page, .html, and effects, styles are defined in style sheet. So that means .css, and logic is defined in TypeScript. .ts. Sorry, ts, right? .ts. Very important is actually 3 points are there. So that is a component can be designed. A component can be designed in component can be designed by using two techniques. Number one is code behind technique, and number two is inline documentation technique. Code behind technique, inline documentation technique. Code behind technique is nothing but code behind technique is nothing but. So in this technique, all the UI means in this technique, UI styles and logic are separated, cleanly separated. In code behind technique, so UI, logic, and styles are cleanly separated. So in this technique, presentation will be in HTML page and the styles will be in style sheet, and logic is defined in TypeScript. This is code behind technique. And inline technique. So UI, styles, and logic all are defined, all are in one page, in one file. All are in one file. That means in inline technique, everything is maintained in one file. That means user interface, styles, and logic are defined in one file. That means, so it comprises of a TypeScript file where you can define the markup. That means markup means HTML. You can define styles, so that is CSS, and logic, that is TypeScript. That means everything is maintained in one file. It comprises of a TypeScript file where you can define everything. That means in Angular, components are designed in two ways. There are two techniques. What are the two techniques? First technique is code behind technique. In code behind technique, so we will have HTML page separate, that is .html, HTML page separate. So we will have the CSS page separate, .css page separate. So here we write the styles we have to write here. And we will have a TypeScript file separate. So .ts, TypeScript file separate. Here we have to write the logic. So we have to write the logic here. This is code behind technique. In code behind technique, all are present in individual files. We have another technique, inline documentation technique. In inline documentation technique, everything is present in one file only. That means in this file, we define the UI. In this file, we define the style. So we define the style. And in this file, we define the logic. Everything is in one file only. It depends on our situation and requirement, whether we want cleanly separated or we want everything one. Situations I will tell you, we will discuss about that. That means a component can be designed by using two techniques. Code behind technique, where all are separated from each other. Inline technique, where everything is maintained in one file. We will see both techniques, how to handle them. We will see both techniques. Yeah. Next important you should know. So this point you understood. So component can be designed by using two techniques, code behind, inline documentation, right? In code behind, you have three separate files. Inline, everything is present in one file. Now, technically, component is technically a TypeScript class. It is a TypeScript class. Component is technically a TypeScript class. It is technically a TypeScript class. So that implements, so actually the component that implements, or you can simply say that TypeScript class that is derived from component base, class. Every component that you create is a class which is derived from a component base class defined in @angular/core